Thanks, Anita. Lisa and Todd are here from the U.S. Forest Service, but you guys are like a different branch.
Well, we're here today representing the Tahoe Fire and Fuels team, which includes local, state, and federal agencies and other agencies. So we all work together on our fuels program here in the basin. It's more efficient that way, and so we all know what each other are doing that way.
Right, yeah. You see smoke in the basin, it's like, hey, that's from the controlled burn. I know that's something that you focus on, Todd, is these controlled burns and the slash piles we see and reducing fuels. Is that the right term?
Right, yeah, it's hazardous fuels reduction is kind of what we call it. And so what we're trying to do is change the conditions of the forest around the communities and reduce the fuel loading so that if you were to have a fire that would move through that area, it would be more easy to control and less likely to impact the community.
Sure. And again, I'm just a layman, but it seems like an observation of mine since we had the Angora fire. I feel like there's been a whole lot more of this process in our community since then. Is that something that it did inspire?
I could speak to that if you like. Yes, we had the campfire last year, which was a huge wake-up call to those foothill areas. But, Angora was really our wake-up call. So we've been working since then with all the agencies. They developed a Blue Ribbon Commission to talk about what needs to be done. And a lot of things have changed. We've really stepped up the fuels thinning around the basin because we know how important it is.
I remember one thing that also seemed to change was the diameter of tree you could bring down on your own property.
Yes, before I believe it was 6 inches, and now I think it's 14 inches.
Right.
So if it's 14 inches in diameter at breast height, then you can cut it down with no permit.
Right.
If it's on private property, then contact either your local fire district or TRPA, and they'll come out and assess the tree and issue the permit.
And then I was asking you guys during the break about some of the paint I see on the trees. Like, for example, along Pioneer right now, if you drive Pioneer, there's a bunch of trees there. I guess that would be the east side of the road that have blue paint rings around them. Can you maybe speak to that? Because I know people are probably seeing that. It seemed like that was something new. I just noticed.
Yeah, so the paint is a way, so the Forest Service will send foresters and people that work in the veg management shop through these units prior to the work that actually gets done, and they'll identify which trees need to be taken down and removed as part of the fuels treatment project and which trees are going to be left. And the method that they use to do that is by painting the trees.
Just paint them
so if you see the paint on the trees, you know that there's going to be an activity that's going to take place there in the future.
Cool.
And just to let you know, I believe this is part of the South Tahoe Fuels Reduction Program. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's going to
South Shore Fuels.
South Shore Fuels. So we've got lots of different fuels reduction projects going on.
So do you guys have kind of a general schedule for people out there, like when things are going to start? Because I know that's probably a challenge for you specifically, is people see smoke and they're calling, I see smoke, but you guys have a timing to it.
Yeah, the smoke is a little bit different because that's the prescribed burning piece than when they're going to go out and accomplish the fuels treatment projects with the paint. So what we try to do with the smoke is we'll set up signs on the roads, we'll make updates on all of the websites, we'll call people, we'll update all the local fire departments, the police, basically we try to spread the word as far and wide as possible so that everybody knows what's going on and nobody's taken by surprise.
Sure. I think another part that's really interesting in how you pick the days that you do those control burns, can you speak on that with humidity and winds and all the factors that go into this is the day we're picking for these reasons?
Yeah, so there's a few kind of key things that you're trying to take into consideration. One is the condition of the fuels themselves. So are the fuels too dry to burn? We want the fuels to burn, but we don't want the fuels to burn too actively. We want to be well in control of the situation throughout the whole process. And then the other key consideration is the air quality. We want we don't want to burn under stagnant atmospheric conditions so that the smoke just kind of sits there and can negatively impact the local community. So we want some movement in the atmosphere, but we also don't want it to be
too much wind either.
Too windy because then that'll affect our ability to control the fire.
And then typically with these, you have a fire crew that's around monitoring and mitigating any kind of spread and that sort of a thing, right?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Cool.
So the California State Parks is looking to start the fall prescribed fire program next Tuesday, the 24th, if the weather conditions are right. So we just want to let people know know that that's, kicking off possibly next week. And, people will see smoke from these projects.
Yeah.
And
Do you get the negative Nancy's that are like, it's smoky, and it's
We
like,
do,
well,
we
but
do.
the alternative is like a paradise fire. I mean, we
Right,
have
exactly.
To,
Thank
we
you,
have
Todd.
to keep that in perspective.
Yes.
I feel like,
Yes, smoke from prescribed fire is much less intense and much shorter duration than smoke from a wildfire, like the campfire.
Yeah.
And we've seen that the past few summers, how smoky it's been.
Right.
We
This
seem to
summer
be
was
pretty
great.
lucky,
We're really lucky.
knock on wood, but
Yeah.
we seem to be pretty lucky this year. But you know what? It could still happen. Some of the worst fires we've had over the last few years have been in December and January.
Yeah, well.
So this fall prescribed fire program is really important to help us, remove these excess fuels out of the forests around our communities to keep them safe.
Well, keep coming in and updating us, Todd. Nice to meet you, and keep
Thank
up
you.
the good work. I love how it all looks once they're all thinned out and those slash piles are burned out. It looks
Opens
good.
it up, yeah.
Looks really healthy. Yeah, keep
It
up the
does.
good work.
Thank you so much.
U.S. Forest Service starting the control burns locally if the forecast mitigates it, right, for
Yes.
Tuesday. We'll take a look at the forecast when we come back.